Hello everyone, I'm Rudrani and welcome to Zoom Speak Easy. My guest today is among the most honest actors in the industry. If you have conversations with him on and off camera, he refuses to be anything but himself, and that is why we miss conversing with him. Of course, superbly talented and is unafraid of making choices that are different. Always has been, of course, our very own Emraan Hashmi. Thank you for joining in.
Long time.
Long time. Imran, I told you I missed you. You've missed us or not?
I've missed you a lot. I've missed you a lot.
Jabardasti. This is just Jabardasti.
I have missed you more than you missed me.
Such a liar. See, this is the charm, the Emraan Hashmi charm.
It's a fact.
You know, this is, let me see. We'll see how much of it that is true. Because we need more.
I've been chasing you down to do an interview, but you're the one who doesn't have the time. And now we just got hold of you and finally.
No one's believing this. You know that, right? No one, everybody knows what a reticent person does. Jo insan sabse bade stars.
No, I've given a lot of interviews. It's just that probably there was a bit of a sabbatical. But now, yeah, you see more of me, I guess.
Tell me why that sabbatical. Was it like introspective period? A lot of actors who like taking that gap completely and sort of retrospecting. So I want to know, was that your phase as well?
No. See, the sabbatical is also a lot to do with the shifting times just post 2020. As you know,
COVID.
It just was a lull period for a lot of films. Promotions weren't being done the same way. Yeah. And you're one of the most engaging hosts and interviewers that, and I've said this again, that there are traditional, due respect to everyone, it's just also, it also depends on the kind of way it's directed into through the questions you ask.
Sure.
If you're going to ask the routine questions, you're going to get a routine interview.
Pressure.
If you ask these lovely, novel questions, you'll get a novel interview.
I appreciate that.
Yes.
Thank you. But like I said, the reason why I enjoy conversations is for actors today who are coming in also are everything is extremely trained. I was just discussing with somebody else, they are media trained. And you have always been the person who's really not listened to whatever little PR that you had, you have done your own thing.
Yeah.
And whether it's worked against you, what some would say, or with you, you've not really been caught in that trap. Imran, you remain the same. How have you managed to be authentic in this world of cinema?
I don't know, I'm just a little stubborn and I guess set in my ways to a certain extent. I don't buy into, this could be a good thing or bad thing, I don't buy into sometimes there's a huge shift sometimes and trends that you have to go by. And I question those, because everything comes with their own pitfalls and trappings. And it's not like it's right or it's wrong. It's just that I feel that this has worked for me to a certain point. I feel beyond a point, sometimes there is something like overexposure also, and people would beg to differ, right? I have a belief that these days you want to be plastered all over 24/7. You want to be available from the moment everyone gets up in the morning, below your building, through PAP videos. Then you want to flood your social media and your mugshot into people's faces through the entire day. Then when you're coming into the cinema halls, is there any enigma there? Is there anything that people would yearn for? Because they've already seen you like probably 1 million times that year through all these videos. Something is lost. But then again, could be right, could be wrong. This is just my way. There's nothing right or wrong.
They say the last of the stars are done. They say Shah Rukh, Salman, all of them. They say, and I feel like, is this one of the reasons, like you rightly said? Because it's very difficult to reach the stardom, no?
It's not got anything to do with the lack of talent. I think there's a lot of talent out there.
Sure.
There's always been. It's just that times have changed, with the advent of social media, with the influx of so many different kinds of people kind of wanting to garner your attention. It's kind of divided. That space is divided into multiple areas right now. You have YouTube stars, you have social media influencers, you have, a dime a dozen things. And then, of course, everything else gets a little watered down, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to probably take it back 10, 20 years. Very few avenues. Films weren't promoted that much. You had a handful of stars that were ruling the roost. And it was about the big screen. It was that big screen experience. It's about putting your stars on that pedestal and seeing them in 70 mm. When you didn't get an opportunity to probably, I guess VHS also dented it to a certain extent. Sure. Before that, I'm sure it was only the big screen, right? And that had its own appeal. But as and when things started getting even more available, I think it kind of erodes that. It's got nothing to do with the lack of talent, again. So yeah, then you have the last of the mega stars, and I don't know, I'm scared to see what's around the corner, what's next. You don't know, anything could be around the corner.
We want to discuss what's next, but now we're going to discuss what's present.
Yeah, please.
You've had tremendous success with your films in the past, and 100 crore was a thing that you were used to. We are back to that, Emraan. Tiger 3 has got massive success, but along with that comes a lot of love for the way you've portrayed your character.
Is it? Yeah?
Yeah, 100%. I know you're not so much into reading comments, but I'm sure you've read a few sometimes.
I have.
I know post a film you do. I remember you telling me sometime post a film I do read sometimes, you told me. So how have you looked at, I have seen a lot of love for you. I have personally enjoyed your performance because besides, you know, the character being, of course, all out there with an agenda of his own and revenge and all of that. But there's a lot of, you know, you humanize the character so much. It just felt more real. So.
God, so much of praise. I'm almost levitating right now.
Oh,
But
he will never levitate. You don't take it seriously, only any praise.
No, I had a ball playing Atish. Honestly, I think, you know, it's one of those characters I've had such a good time playing. It's been hard work. It's been a lot of pressure on the entire team. I think especially Manish and me, because we were the two new entrants into this space. Everyone else had been there before. So we didn't want to be the two entrants ruining things for everyone. But I think I had a really good time working with everyone. And it's just an antagonist who is wicked, terrible, like he does the worst things. But also, if you look back through the journey of the character, you somewhere realize that, okay, he did it for his own reasons. You might hate him for whatever. You want him to, like, you know, kill him through the entire film. But yeah, he's coming from a place where you realize he was a product of his environment. He became that way because of his ideology that eventually came into, and the things that happened in his life. I don't want to give too much away here, but it had those multiple shades, as opposed to a typical stereotypical villain who's all brawn
or like
and who's physical and who wants to kind of bash up the hero. This guy is cerebral. This guy is smart. And there's something sexy in that. There's a lot of appeal, and it's very different. It's very different from the other antagonists, which I thought, you know, if it was a routine thing, I probably wouldn't have done it. So that was interesting.
100% it was. And because you talk about the backstory, I know that when I saw the film, it reminds you for a very brief moment of the backstory that John had in Pathaan. I think because the universes are so closely knit. And of course, I don't want to give away too much, but losing closed ones does impact usually the villain, right? That is where the comparison probably ends. But even that, I felt, like you rightly said, then it goes to cerebral part. But when you all were writing this, okay, or when the discussion was going on, did that come up? That dekho, wahan pe bhi thoda to aisa hua tha. Though different circumstance, completely different story, completely different villain. But that was there.
I didn't really know about his journey in the film. I came to know when I saw it. But I think the way Manish has presented it and the way it was written, it might have been the same trigger. And sometimes triggers and arcs might be similar because, you know, at the end of the day, you have only 7 archetypes of film stories or whatever, and certain kinds of heroes and villains. But the way it eventually was presented through the backstory, through seeing this guy, again, I don't want to give too much away, but seeing him from the first frame of being a guy who looks so innocent, and you see him progressively get darker and darker because of this ideology that just takes seed in his mind, was interesting to play out. And it's kind of nuanced. You
know, I love that you call the villain cerebral and sexy, because people often think that when villains decide to show a little bit of grey hair, which they should if they're at a certain age, it's not sexy enough. I thought it was brilliant that you wanted to keep the authenticity of the age, show the process of aging, and yet have that demeanor. I think that completely spoke to me. What did you think about that? Was there a lot of discussion about whether you want to show or do you want to keep it glamorized? I want to know whether that happened.
Every time Manish would tell my team to put an additional kind of, whatever color of grey, I was like, okay, tone it down.
You said?
Yeah. I was like, oh, it's too much. Contrary to that, before we started shooting, I honestly, and this is probably my lacking of not knowing the journey, when he said antagonist and I heard the script, I was like, okay, my obvious reaction is to this very manicured antagonist, leather jacket, Ray-Bans, slicked hair, the quintessential what you expect.
Baddie.
But then when we started working on the character, it made so much of sense because he's a guy he's almost a broken man after he, comes back from the shadows to avenge things. He wants this retribution for what's been done to him. And it makes sense because he doesn't really care about the way he looks, and that's why it's so sexy. It's not manicured. And he plays with his mind. So, and he's very eloquent. He sometimes quotes Mirza Ghalib, and the way he speaks is very polished with his Urdu and all. So that for me was the appeal. And after a point, when I saw that look, and we went to multiple look tests, by the way, we did some 10 look tests and four photo shoots to actually nail down the multiple looks. But then we realized that we have something that's interesting and something I've not done. People have not seen me this way.
I think it did not matter that you were not a certain stereotypical way of the body being like, massive and tall and all of that.
Yeah.
I think you forget everything because the guy is the personality. The man's personality is so overpowering when he comes on screen. And of course, a lot of credit to you for that. I think nothing else matters at the end, right?
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it.
No, that's why I said, if it was all brawn, I probably would have bailed on it.
Yeah.
And I think Aditya Chopra, Manish are very smart to have kind of tailored it and made it fit into what would work for me in a sense. Again, physically, yes, I don't look like a person physically who would overpower Salman, right?
Yeah.
So, if you had that wouldn't work from the word go. So, they made the key things put into the script and character intentions and the way he plays his game just like a, game of chess or to defeat his opponent. And his conviction and just his ruthlessness. He psychologically breaks his opponents.
Yeah.
So that in itself is the most dangerous thing. And if you see even Bond villains, the best of the best are the ones who have always played with their mind, not brawn.
There are many actors here who don't fall in that trap, and you're among them. But internationally, people want to play great characters. They want to play characters that are absolutely crazy. Here, now that is changing a bit. The popular belief was if you are a Hindi film hero, you should not do characters which are supposed to be known as the antagonist. And it will be detrimental to your career. I know you've never believed in that, but even when you took this up, were there people saying, are you sure? Even now, because you have never listened to that anyway. I want to know.
I've always played people with grey shades. So for me, it was nothing new. I played grey shades when people were playing squeaky clean righteous heroes who dance below trees and just do the cool romantic things and do the action things. There was a very different kind of hero that I was pitching myself through my scripts and my films. So it was not very different for me. So playing this was not a drastic thing like, okay, there's an arc which I've never done anything before. But yes, it is new in that mold.
Sure.
But I think also right now for a lot of leading men through films in the past that have done exceptionally well, even if you see Western cinema, it could be the Joker, and even the Joker and Batman. They're just memorable characters that leave a lasting impact because there's something interesting about their motivations. And they're not unidimensional. Villains earlier used to be extremely unidimensional. They used to be very caricaturish. But right now, they are more people who you probably know. They're people who are, everyone functions in those areas of grey, right? So there's something understated about it that makes it even more menacing. It's not so much to do with the larger-than-life villain all the time.
I agree.
It's the intent and the way he played.
What I also really enjoyed watching was how Manish was making most of the characters, particularly the male characters here, extremely emotional. In touch with their emotions.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's Salman, of course you have an aura, all of that.
Yeah.
You know, beating the guys,
Yeah.
all of that is happening. Even you are an emotional person. When you're telling your story, you are emotional.
Yeah.
Which is rarely done to films that are action
Yeah.
oriented,
Yeah.
right? There's one side, you know, that is, and they do it very well, where the hero is supposed to be this ultra masculine character who's beating up like whatever people, and is not supposed to be at any point break down or have any kind of thing. You know? Pitch perfect action.
Yes.
I think that is also very interesting because you know, masculinity की जो definition होती है, मुझे लगता है इस दौर में change हो गई है थोड़ी, but वो बहुत for men it's problematic, right? To assume that उनकी feelings नहीं होते या वो. I like that happened here. How did you look at that? Both Salman and your character, both, I think.
Yeah, I think you know, it's a different, I guess, take on masculinity, and also the way we see our leading men, the way we see our antagonists. Like I said, probably 10, 15, 20 years back, it was a very you know, traditional way of looking at them. The hero would not do anything wrong. The villain would not probably have a clear motivation to do it, and would be the villain for the sake of being a villain and just do bad things. But ultimately, you realize that's not the case. People are product of the environment. They have the ideologies. Like the antagonist is never really comes from a place of knowing what he's doing wrong. An antagonist is the hero of his own narrative, right? So I didn't play it like playing the bad guy. He is playing the hero from the other side of the border.
100%.
What he is doing, from his narrative, is he's doing the best thing for his country. Now, sitting on this side of the fence, you will see him as the bad guy, but you seeing on the other side of the border, he might seem like a hero. So it depends on the perception and the people who are watching and viewing it. And yes, you know, I think it's very important these days to show that vulnerability in men. At the same time, you know, for women to show them kick ass on screen. Yeah, Katrina, the way she's done it.
I love that the story was around, you know, the majority of it is around.
Yeah, the way she's played it also. A mix, you know, is a mix of emotions, vulnerability also, and fierceness of the woman. And it's not just the man saving the day, which is also a very progressive on screen, which is good.
It's good, and I know all this matters to you, right?
Yeah,
because we've seen in the commercial space where movies are done, which can be problematic, but you kind of are very particular about what you're choosing, even in the commercial space.
No, and also this film is not just action set piece after action set piece. Now, if you speak to someone who wants to see just that, an empty, hollow action film with a spectacle, then probably this is not it. It has that also. But it also breathes life into characters and story.
Correct.
That's why there is a setup to it, and eventually it goes into, you know, this huge grandeur and you know, big film with good action set pieces. But it gives its time to create, you know, and show the character motivations of where they come from. It gives time to Atish to show where he comes from, Zoya, Tiger. And actually you've seen Tiger and Zoya's story, so you had to see where Atish fits in, so that's why there was a bit of a prologue here.
But it's also interesting, right, to see the evolution of this mix of content and commercial and here. That is why you're getting love from a lot of people for that. They appreciate that there is story in it. On X, there are people who think like, okay, you know, the story is about she, of course, is a Pakistani agent, which everybody knows. She's an ISN agent that we all know, right? So yeah. And the fact that there is this involvement of the story that goes into, you know, saving the other country, all of that. And they said, how is that patriotism? Now, it's very interesting, and I wanted to ask you this particularly. How do we describe patriotism, and how a film like this, in its own way, is of course an absolutely patriotic film, right? In that sense of it. How do you want to respond to the people on the other side of it?
You know, kind of me, I mean, war always created more problems, right?
Yeah.
And if you ask the people of a nation, they always want peace. And ultimately, a hero is just who rises above certain preconceived notions of what patriotism is and does things for the larger good of peace, right? And that's what the film projects the narrative as. So I think in that sense, it's a very progressive film. There are dime a dozen films that who are jingoistic and they have that pitch of bashing this so-and-so country, and we've seen so many films in the same light.
Yeah.
You know, you can't please everyone, right? You have to ultimately, and we try to do something that was right here.
I agree.
That was new. Otherwise, we could have easily gone down that road. And the same people who are questioning the patriotism here would have then said, yeah, फिर से वही चीज़ दिखा दी तुमने. So ultimately, there are the whole lot of people who just don't want to be, you know, they will criticize your film, whatever you make. So ultimately, you do what you want to do, and the numbers speak for themselves. And you know, as long as a larger share of the audience likes it, you will have people who will jump on the bandwagon for whatever and criticize it.
But I also want to know, it must have been so much fun for you to, even for the one-to-one combat scenes with Salman, and to watch, because you're collaborating with him on screen literally like this for the first time.
Yes.
I want to know how you have seen him evolving as an actor as well, and I'm sure he feels the same way about you.
No, of course, I've seen him, of course, and I've grown up watching his films. He's really evolved, you know, especially you see moments in the first half of the vulnerability of the character, the way he pitches it, the way he cries on screen and all that. I think he's really come a long way, and you know, I was just telling someone else that, you know, for Salman, he's got so much of charisma that he doesn't play up so much more. He doesn't put in that. Sometimes you don't need to put in so much effort. That shows.
Yeah.
And he's kind of effortless, but he knows what works. And sometimes you see him enact a scene on set, and you're like, okay, he's doing it kind of casually. But then when you see it on the monitor, he's like, yeah, he's pushing the buttons in the right way.
Yeah.
Which is, of course, testament to his hard work that he's put in through so many years, his the experience that he's garnered. And yeah, I had an absolute ball working with him. You know, some actors you're very comfortable with. I'm very comfortable working with Salman. It's just, we vibe well as people. We might not hang out every day. But it's just, he's one of those guys that, you know, you work with him and I sit and talk with him. It's like, you know, it's like talking to like a friend. So we have a good connect. And yeah, it was good fun working with him.
Emraan saying, I don't hang out every day. Imran, you don't hang out every day with anybody from the industry.
Yeah, that's true.
And
that's
I have to bring that up.
That's true.
Some people go at least somewhere once in 6 months.
I go once in a while.
Imraan, which was the last Bollywood party? Now, everybody just listen
I went to SRK's birthday.
Okay, fair enough.
That was not very far ago.
That
was not
wasn't
far
very
back.
far.
That was like
This got lucky, but otherwise...
2 weeks back.
But did you have fun? When you went to a Bollywood...
Define fun.
Emraan Hashmi...
I didn't stay beyond 12 because, you know, I am generally a guy who gets up at like 6:37. So my pattern, my sleep pattern is extremely, you know, I have a very different kind of, even Salman sometimes doing shoot, he's like, okay, you know, come, we'll hang out and all that. And that hanging out used to only last at 10:30. I was excuse myself, Salman, I have to go sleep because I have to get up for training in the morning. It's boring, it's kind of a discipline, but this is, and I have become like this. I love it. I'm not complaining.
Yeah, of course.
I love
That's
this pattern. It's just, I've become more disciplined through probably the past like 6-7 years. More so after the lockdown, actually.
Yeah.
I've become even more obsessive about it. But yeah, I was never really a big fan of film parties. Never a big fan of them. I don't know why. They don't do anything for me, film parties. I don't drink. I don't drink. So yeah, therein lies the biggest problem. And I don't make film industry small talk. I'm the worst.
That's
like
exactly.
I thought last thing I want to talk about is you know, shop after you pack up. So all my friends are like non-filmy friends. I talk about films at all after that.
But I will not say why, but Emraan also is very informed though. Somehow.
Yeah, I am.
Otherwise.
I am, yeah.
Yeah, but then you keep it to yourself, that's it.
Yeah.
It's not like Emraan doesn't know what's happening around him.
Yeah, I do. I don't really care much about gossip.
Yeah, you couldn't, yeah.
Like if you ask me who's dating whom right now, I could care less. Like I don't go through I don't check Instagram to see, you know, different events and all that. It's not me.
While you've been among the honest ones, right? Sometimes when Coffee with Karan, your reels come up, I laugh.
Yeah.
That was a very different person.
Enemies, yeah.
Huh?
You end up making many enemies.
Is that why you stopped going to shows? Because you were also among the actors who people loved for being candid. They say now you can't get that back. There's a lot of risk.
I think it's too much, right, to handle. That's a little too.
But even then, you rarely cared about it. So I want to know, like, have a part of you, has that changed?
No.
Like, will
I
that
would
stop
still,
you from...
if I go on Coffee with Karan again, I'll get a mess of things again. I think probably I'll be worse off in the rapid fire round than I was before.
Really?
Yeah.
Before
because
things...
it's an opinion, and I don't
Yeah.
really have anything against these people.
Sure.
I just want to win the hamper.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just becomes a competitive thing.
Yeah.
And then you say these weird things.
But even today, is it awkward for you to go to film screenings? Because people are expecting...
I don't go to film screenings.
Exactly.
I've been very few film screenings, a very handful of film screenings, because I don't know, you're obliged to come out and praise, and I can't.
And you can't.
If I don't like it.
Yeah.
It's not that I go in to hate a film.
Sure.
What if I don't? I can't lie about it. So it makes me honest. It shows in my face.
It is.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that's why I kind of stay away. Nothing intended, malicious here.
Since you're missing rapid fire so much, I should ask you some fun questions.
It's okay.
No, fun questions. But before that, before I go to my fun question now, Emraan, I must say that it's always wonderful to have you and chat with you about anything, because you're also among the very few people who are very, very in tuned with the craft and the business. A lot of people don't assume that, but I know you still know how the business works, and particularly numbers and box office. But it has not deterred you. You're not obsessed with the box office numbers, otherwise you would not made certain choices, right? Like that you have.
Yeah.
Is that how it is now that you have tasted it again in this massive way with the kind of numbers that Tiger 3 is showing? I want to ask, does that change anything for you?
I'll tell you where I would want to go now. I would want to go into a more back to my constituency that I left for almost 7 years, because there was a phase where felt that I was done with that, because that wasn't giving me satisfaction.
That lover boy.
And I went on to a path because I felt that I want to do something different, because it's played its path. But I would want to play a kind of old wine in new bottle kind of scenario again, and go into that mass penetration which I've always had, which I kind of left.
Yeah.
And I wanted to play a certain different mold of characters. I wanted to play multiple. And if you like the character in Tiger, it's testament to the fact that I went back and did something different.
100%.
Through these 5, 6, 7 years.
100%.
Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to give. I would have given a very monotonous performance if I had not done that. Right?
100%.
So, if people who say retrospect that okay, you experimented and probably some films didn't do that well in the box office, it's not always about that. Sometimes it makes sense later on. It might not make sense then, but it always adds up. Life always adds up.
Like Shanghai got you a lot of love.
Yeah. So and some people still say that, why did you do a film like Shanghai? After you had given multiple hits, you also did a film like Shanghai. But I said that's as important as doing a Murder or a Dirty Picture or a Raz or any of those films.
Because you say that, before I go to my next round, I have to mention I met Preetham, and he said
I met him also. I met him. I met him at my SRK's party, and he was saying that I told Adi, I told Manish that give Emraan a romantic song.
Oh, you saw that
interview?
Man,
you really want me to sing a song with the salt and pepper hair and looking scary as hell? And I was like, I'm the antagonist. How am I supposed to sing a song?
Backstory में हो सकता था, but जबरदस्ती हो जाता ना थोड़ा.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's seen the interview, so he knows what I'm talking about. So he told me that when he met, and this is the first time we didn't have a hit romantic number, it felt really weird.
Yeah.
He said for him it was weird. Can you imagine how weird it is for your OG fans who followed you?
I know.
I
got a lot of messages on Twitter. I'm like, they were hoping there will be a romantic song. I was like, come on, just give it a break this time. Maybe the next film, not now.
Okay. On that note, Emraan, I'll let you go with some fun questions, Emraan, with the last round of it. Are you ready?
Yes.
A rumor about yourself that makes you laugh.
A rumor about myself. Actually, there are no rumors, if you've noticed.
तो होते ही नहीं हो आ रहा.
There are no rumors.
There have been none, that you also heard.
Yeah, there have hardly been any rumors.
Okay. A misconception that people have about you that is obviously
I'm extremely arrogant.
That is actually not true though, but yeah. A lot of people still feel that about you?
I'm a bit shy. I'm not arrogant. It takes me some time to open up. But I'm not arrogant at all.
Is there any film or a genre that you regret doing in your career?
Good Boy, Bad Boy.
Really?
Yeah.
People love that film.
I know. It's kind of a cult film for some college students.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that film is good intentions and not really taking pot shots at people who were part of the film. It's just some films steer into and that horrendous wig I was wearing in the film. That I cringe every time I see either that on television or photographs of that.
Well, Imran, okay, on that note, one thing that you think has changed for after so many years in Emraan Hashmi today and one thing that hasn't?
I believe I've become slightly wiser and more disciplined over the years. I wasn't that disciplined probably maybe close to a decade back or 7-8 years back. Yeah, I think I've become a little
And
more
what has
wise.
remained the same?
I think I owe this to, I thank my family for this. I think there's a certain grounding that I have. I surround myself with people who give me a reality check. I choose not to keep people around me who put me on a, I don't like that. I can't, and I realize that would be detrimental to my growth. So I'd rather have 10 people who would shoot me down and criticize and tell me exactly and point it out the way it is, than give me false praises.
Fair enough. A Bollywood star, or let's say a Hindi film star that you truly think has maintained the superstardom and
Mr.
continues.
Bachchan.
Your grandmother has apparently worked with him in Zanjeer, isn't it?
Yes, yes. She played his mother in Zanjeer.
See? I remember.
Yeah. And the irony was that I think the first day of my shooting for Chehre with Mr. Bachchan was the release date of Zanjeer.
That's so
Which
odd.
was some, I think, I don't know how many years back, decades back. And I
Lifetime.
told him that. I was
Yeah.
like, this is the day your film released with my grandmother, and this is the first day of shoot for me with you.
Life comes in a full circle.
Full circle, yeah.
Okay, quickly, you'll have to tell me actors from the Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam,
Oh, please
Telugu
don't.
industry that you'd love to
Please
collaborate with.
Oh, I'm working with Pawan Kalyan.
Yes, you
which
are.
Which is great, which is fantastic. I would love to work with Rajnikant sir. I would love to work with him. I loved Vikram.
Yeah.
I saw Kamal Hassan in that. He's absolutely brilliant.
How is it going with the Pawan Kalyan film?
Very good, very good. That's a big one. That's an interesting one.
And completely different again.
Badass, yeah. It's a real badass.
That's a real badass?
Yeah.
Nothing more, no?
Cool badass.
Cool
I can't
badass.
give anything more about that, but it's a very interesting one.
What is one thing that the industry doesn't know about Emraan Hashmi and they should?
I don't go to film parties.
That everybody knows
But now everyone knows that.
Yeah, no. Come on, that's
Yeah,
the last
yeah.
one for you.
I
Yeah?
run away from PAPs.
You do. How have you managed to not get PAP? Because you said that. I was
Because
just
I don't call them the places where I go to. I think most of the actors call them to places and pay them. I don't do either.
No media
I go to
needs.
places where they don't come. And I'll give you a hint. Go to town to actors who don't want to be clicked. Don't go to Banda restaurants or eateries.
I
Or
like
go to
how-
5-star hotels where they can't click you.
So this is
Because
what
of hotel rules.
is any other advice for the young actors who are now in the industry?
There's no right or wrong. It's just everyone's got their own path. I've got my thing. Some likes and dislikes. People have their likes and dislikes. Who's to say what is right and what's wrong?
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure,
Pleasure.
chatting with you.
Yes.
You are amazing.
Thank you.
And you
You
have
are
remained
too.
to be authentic. I will always admire that about
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Sending you lots of love. Come, let
Thank
me
you.
make you do
Thank
some
you.
cute
Thank you.
things.
Thank you.
Thank you once again.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.